sim races from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now.
There are just 5 races left to go in the 2023 Lionheart Retro Series, and today we make our way to a staple of Grand Prix racing for many a year. Drivers will be challenged here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari as we get set to go for the final 5 races in 2023. Welcome along to the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola live on RaceSpotTV. Delighted to have your company once again as we get set to unleash the Lotus 79s around what's bound to be an exciting 41 laps of racing here across of tonight's proceedings. It's our Junior Kanki party once again alongside with the one, the only DJ Clark as we get ready to dive into the racing action, and let's head straight into our ButtKicker pre-race show because there's only 2 more road courses left to go in this campaign, and DJ, Imola and Road America, they don't get much more classic, and let's be real, they don't get much better than the 2 that we've got left to go.
They really don't, but unlike Road America, which is mainly about speed and power, here at Imola today, it's all about technicality, making sure you get things right. But before we get into those races at Road America, we've got Nashville to get through as well as Gateway, and then that season finale at Auto Club.
And of course, as we take a look at this next level racing schedule, I'm just reminded that it's back to back to back for these drivers effectively as we make our way in 7 days' time over to Nashville and then Road America almost a full month after that. And for the very first time, I feel like, DJ, in series history, we cross a calendar year into 2024 to close out our 22 race season, of course, where every Lionheart campaign has to end on the high banks of Auto Club.
Yeah, most certainly, and I agree with you there, Arjuna. I've been following this series either as a driver, as a fan, or as a commentator for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've never remembered us being able to cross over into the new year, so definitely new ground for everyone.
And so I think we're looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. Of course, 2 ovals after the new year to still very much look our way on forward to it. Still looking relatively close at the top of the Next Level Racing driver standings, but that's really because the drop weeks are starting to be factored into the equations. But ultimately, it is still Sean Campbell that's got the dominant hand in the championship. Michael O'Brien still holds relatively close, but David Sirwan now dropping back as the drop weeks begin to play their way on out. Realistically, DJ, we've seen the times in practice. Sean Campbell looking very, very quick. He's hoping that at this penultimate road course of the season as well, he can make his mark on the road course championship too.
Well, most certainly, and for Campbell's clinical style of absolute precision, I've got to think Imola is a circuit that is going to suit him to a T, so watch for him to maybe be able to run out into the lead. Although, as we say that, Michael O'Brien has been able to bring the gap down to 0.4 of a second here in practice, so maybe there is hope for a close race yet.
I was just looking at the history as well. Campbell, remarkably, despite what we think we've seen over the course of the year, has only actually won 5 races. It's more just about the consistency and being up there towards the front. Let's not forget, last time out at Laguna Seca pole and the victory on the last road course, he'll be hoping to repeat that form. If you look at those team names, it all looks rather familiar, but as we take a look at the team championship, the HyperX team championship, it's Nezumi Graphics LC Madworks that have a dominant lead at the front, but of course now with a bit of a shake-up in the team's playing order, Chris Fowler not going to be making many of the rest of the rounds of the season. Nezumi Graphics LC Madworks down just the 2. expect them to probably still continue to pull away at the front of the field. I'm really, at this point, DJ, looking more at third, where Raven Lavoie and Backfire Motorsport still find themselves split by only about 100 points.
Yeah, that's going to be the real battle to keep our eyes on here. The other one that I have my eye on is the very closely contested battle for P7. Team Talent 4D Racework SRT Chrome and Elite West Racing. They're only separated by about 40 points apiece, and that battle for 8th only separated by a single point. That's going to be another inflection point here over the course of the rest of the season.
For many of those drivers as well, it's a bit of a question as to how many of them will make the rest of the season, and so that's where some of those battles will be decided. It's dominant for Sean Campbell in the Drivers' Championship, and therefore dominant for him in the ButtKicker rookie standings as well, as you take a look at the points as Phil Krause drops a little bit further away after missing the last handful of races. Sam Fontaine, Christopher Hill, Matt Wagner, Dan Zagers, Drew White, and then Jeff Hysong, Andrew Wood, and Bruno Miranda, the rest of the rookies that we've seen over the course of 2023. Let's talk to you, though, about the Gomez Sim Industry Series details in what is the 7th season of this Lionheart Retro Series. In the 10th year of the Lionheart Racing Series, we're campaigning a Grand Prix beast, the Lotus 79, but we proved that it's quite adept at just turning left as well on some of the best ovals that America has to offer, but all drivers compete with the same custom fixed setup. It's just their 2 hands and the 2 feet that make it all happen. They're fighting for their share of cash and prizes, just over $3,500 with the 2 Triple Crowns in the books, and of course just 1 still left to come as we try and figure out who will be crowned our champion after Mike Rasmussen won at the end of 2022. And of course the MadWorks team still linearly continuing to lead the charge in the team championship as well. The arena event details see us return after 3 years to some hallowed grounds, and one of the few road course tracks in the world that runs in an anti-clockwise direction. The thing that I think stands out to me is not necessarily the margin of victory, the number of lead changes that we saw back in Season 3 when Ryan Otis grabbed the victory, but DJ, a 41-lap race, about 19 laps on fuel. Realistically, we're not talking about cutting out a pit stop. We are talking, though, about being able to make this fuel window a little bit wider through both phases of the race.
Yeah, very much so, and thankfully here, Imola is one of those circuits where you are going to be able to do a little bit of fuel saving, lifting and coasting into the corners. And as you mentioned earlier, though, it's not like any of these drivers are going to have any of those fuel mixtures to rely on. This is all down to their feet and how they're going to save fuel. As we take a look at the circuit, it's all going to be down to them and trying to make up those precious gallons.
And you can see we're sort of carved into the countryside, and lots of the then houses surrounding this area in Emilia-Romagna. Of course, Formula One returned for the first time in quite a while, a handful of years ago. But you talk about the fuel saving, DJ. We do know that one thing that these drivers will have at the forefront of their mind, these cars are usually rocket ships. The lighter on fuel they are.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it's not just the speed that comes into play, but the handling as well. They can actually be a little bit sluggish on a full tank of fuel, so watch for these drivers to really extend those first couple of fuel stints as long as possible, because the twitchiness that they're going to be able to extract around some of these very tight and twisting corners is going to be to their advantage.
And so with qualifying underway, and it being a relatively important qualifying session, knowing that the run into the first corner can sometimes get a little bit tight and precarious, it's time to thank all of those that make this possible, starting with HyperX. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit nextlevelracing.com. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. ButtKicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before. Visit thebuttkicker.com. If you think sim racing is thrilling, try getting behind the wheel of a real race car. The BMW M4 GT4 experience at the BMW Performance Driving School in Thermal, California puts you in the cockpit of one of BMW's fastest cars, complete with roll cage and racing slicks. You'll get fitted with a racing suit, practice pit stops, and lap their track with pro instructors. Nothing virtual about their thrills. To book your M4 GT4 experience, call or visit the links on screen. Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end eSpawn equipment and controls, precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. Arena is an all-new esports streaming experience driven by real-time interactions between gamers and their communities. Arena brings live broadcast fan engagement to the next level. Get involved and make a difference on arena.tv. From simple logos to full branding for your company. Virtual Designs Deliveries Race by Indy 500 champions. Graphics offers the finest quality with a wide range of design services. Visit graphicsesports.com. I mentioned that the start can be somewhat precarious, but DJ, the other thing that can be somewhat precarious here at Imola, the curbs that surround some of the tracks, and we look from up above as we see some of the drivers working their way around through Variante Alta. That's one of the complexes where track limits as well will come into play.
Yeah, certainly are, and the track limits here are mostly self-policing, as you said, with those large sausage curbs on the inside of the corners. Now remember, we're not running around here in GT-style machinery that can be aggressive up and over those curbs. These machines, these Lotus 79s, have very, very tightly wound suspension. That means if you're too aggressive with those curbs, you can not only ding up the suspension itself, but you can also run afoul of the most important part on these cars. That is the under tray, which generates the majority of the downforce on these machines.
And of course, it's been quite a while since we've last visited this track with this machine for these drivers, so it's been a while for them, DJ, and I'm sure some will have experience in the GT3 machines and the like, but probably not many will have experience of this car at this track and understanding the nuances of going fast, especially in these qualifying sessions.
Yeah, very much so. It really, really takes, as I said before, a very precise hand to get things right around here. There are plenty of places around this circuit that you think you can push and extract a little bit more speed out of the car, but the reality is that the outside is just willing to grab you and take you off. The two prime examples of that are up at the top of the hill. That's Piratella and then the charge down into Aqua Minerale. One of the most difficult corners in the world. You have to chuck the car in into the right-hander and then apply the brake as you're unloading the steering. Watch for lots of lockups to take place in that corner, and I would not be surprised if we see a driver or two miss it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think you are going to probably see a fair share of mistakes over the course of the day there. You see, by the way, the drivers underway for this qualifying session. Maybe no surprise that it's Sean Campbell that leads the way. No surprise either, potentially, to see Michael O'Brien, the one trying to push the tempo for your championship leader, who finds even more speed. It's a 1:33.796. And now the gauntlet laid down for O'Brien, who's also on to his final attempt in this qualifying session. The Kiwi in the Nizumi Graphics LC Madworks machine is going to run his way to the line. A marginal improvement in time, but not in position.
Yeah, not quite close enough to be able to close down on Campbell up in front. Sirwa doing a great job there to begin in P3. And then if this becomes a fuel-saving race, keep your eye on the number 10 of David Rodriguez as the number 44, the rookie of Telder, comes across the line, and that's not going to be an improvement from 12th for him.
Now, I don't know how many drivers still realistically have actual improvements in time to come, even as Jim Herrick jumps up into 12th, but somewhat down on speed, you'd have to say, all things considered, as the qualifying clock ticks down. It's only Cristobal Valenzuela, Josh Tucker, and Hugo Gallus that have not set times. Josh Tucker on debut, he will have some work to do from the back and at a rather intimidating track. I guess the one benefit is, DJ, in these Lionheart Retro Series races, we don't have standing starts like they used to back in the day.
No, we are going to have a rolling start, an Indianapolis-style start here, so that will help things out a little bit. You're not going to have to worry about the massive amount of tire spin that this machine can generate, so that will help people out, and I think it should fan the field out a little bit more as we go down into turn one.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how things will all play out. The qualifying session is in the books, and for back-to-back occurrences on a road course, it's Sean Campbell that will grab pole position and get ready to lead us to the green. We've got 41 laps on deck as we get ready to go for the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola. Delighted to have you along here on RaceSpotTV for all of the action. Let's head down trackside for today's starting grid. And so, for just the third time this season, Sean Campbell will be at the very front of the ButtKicker starting grid alongside Michael O'Brien. Almost half a second between the two of them, and only then 600ths back to David Sirra in that Raven Lavoie Motorsports number 99, as 1, 2, and 3 in the championship lineup, 1, 2, and 3 on track as well. As DJ mentioned, watch out for David Rodriguez. A fuel mileage comes into play, while Matt Taylor for the Nizumi Graphic LC Madworks team is alongside Tyler Graff in the number 98 machine on the third row of the grid. Alex Guyon and then Richie Hearn on the fourth row. We see Sam Ryman and Rodrigo Munoz behind them, rolling from the edge of the top 10. It will be Samuel Fontaine and then Jim Herrick 11th and then 12th positions, with Matt Helder hoping not to be unlucky 13th at the start. Craig Forsyth will be alongside on the 7th row, with Ricky Hardin and Jimbo Pfeiffer sharing the 8th row. Josh Tucker in 17th and on his debut, and Hugo Gallus alongside in the number 57 machine. A couple of cars, of course, with no times onto the board, including the likes of Cristobal Valenzuela, who will line up at the very back of our 19-car grid here today, amongst the smaller grids that we've had over the course of the season. So you see the drivers getting ready to roll. It's a rather short formation lap as the pace car gets ready to pull off and away. And as ever, we have featured onboard cameras to walk you through. We've got short time to do so, so let's see if we can jump through, well, at least two of them, starting with David Sirra, who rides with ButtKicker. Sim racing is better with ButtKicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com.
Christopher Reagan has the HyperX on board. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game.
And riding with Michael O'Brien is Arena, a new streaming experience for esports is coming. Get involved and make a difference on arena.tv. We're ready to go though, racing. The pace car is going to peel off and away, and it's the field left in control of Sean Campbell. Already a bit of a spin in the background as the klaxon goes off. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart. We're geared up to go for the penultimate road course of the season. It's the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola that sees us finally get underway, and it's a big jump as we head our way in towards the opening corner. Sean Campbell will lead. Michael O'Brien instantly under pressure as a car clambers over the curb, and David Sirra tries to protect himself from the attack of David Rodriguez the long way around, who bullies his way on forward into third. Out of the opening chicane, single file for the top 10 or so. A tidy start for all 19 of the Lotus 79s.
Yeah, that was a really good getaway there for David Rodriguez, just able to time it right with Sean Campbell and be able to get that jump, as you said, over to David Sirra. That's going to put him up into podium positions here, and Sirra looks like he's holding back a little bit at the moment as now they work their way through Tosa for the first time.
And this is where up the hill, commitment will play its part, but at the same time, if you don't have your tires already well and truly up to temperature, you need to make sure that you trust the car underneath you down the hill through the compression. Campbell's race lead is already up to a full second. He knows that he can't afford to hang around just in these early stages, especially knowing how quickly the draft will play itself out. Bouncing over the curbs they go, minding the track limits nice and tidily in towards the final sector they run.
Yeah, getting some good runs here at this point. Campbell already stretching that gap out to 1.3 seconds. That's going to be crucial for him. That'll be out of effective draft range here for Michael O'Brien, and that's going to deny O'Brien any chance to save fuel in the draft, as well as being able to tuck up behind that number 26.
I think we did kind of expect that we might just be expecting a battle for second here, but we'll see if Michael O'Brien can keep the pressure up at the end of the opening lap. That margin already up to 1.4 seconds, though it does not bode well as we jump on board with Rodriguez, a little bit wide through the opening left-hander, and then just see how it compromises you all the way out as you roll yourself back onto the throttle. A field split now by a good 12 seconds or so as Jimbo Pfeiffer is going to drop down in the running order, but he gets back onto track, allows Hugo Gallas on through as well. It's the type of race with just 19 cars where DJ surviving will get you decent points.
Yeah, it certainly will, and I think for a lot of these drivers that are making their debut here tonight, like the likes of Joshua Tucker, that is going to be the key here, is just focus on getting your exits right, be careful not to spin the rear tires, and you will just be able to put yourself into good position to be able to pick up those valuable points.
What's the track conditions like is a question I've kind of been wondering. Oh, there's our answer, scorching, and we've seen our share of track blinders over the course of the season, our share of tire strategies as well. It'll be interesting to see today if we are going to see the drivers up on the jacks and needing to take a fresh set of boots at any point. And again, remember the fuel window about 18 or 19 laps. 2 laps complete. I'm scared to see what the time's going to be from Sean Campbell come at the end of this lap, because the margin already about 2.7 seconds. It's a 1:34.246. It's 1.4 seconds quicker than the rest of those behind.
Campbell's just in a lead of his own here at this point. He is absolutely dominating at the front of this field, and I think your assessment at the beginning, Arjuna, is absolutely right. This is going to be a battle for second on down. And
I think the interesting thing is, of course, next on up is a trip over towards the Nashville Speedway. Very, very different sort of an experience to, I think, what the drivers are in for today. And so I'm guessing we're going to see probably still Sean Campbell up towards the front. It'll be curious to see what else the running order looks like. Here's a look down the hill. And oh, there's a car that runs wide. Matt Telder gives just enough room, as I believe that was is it Jim Herrick, who then runs wide once again.
Yeah, and that can happen when you come down through Ravazza. If you put yourself off a little bit on the line and get a little bit of tire slippage, that can happen. We also take a look at the replay here. A little bit of side-by-side, a little bit of clattering together going into turn 1.
And that is the 46, who's actually in sim scored as the 77, so apologies if there's any confusion on that timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, but Joshua Tucker on debut is having a little bit of an issue, it would seem, as Tyler Graf on the outside fortunately does not get hung out there in a really interesting liveried number 98. He's hunting down the 99. Matt Taylor's directly behind them, and now it's 3 heading off towards the line and running their momentum into turn 1.
Yeah, watch Taylor here as we ride on board with him. He's going to tuck up behind. Sound like he lifted off the throttle a little bit. Now he's going to poke his nose to the outside as Graf tries to go down to the inside there on Sirwa. He's going to be able to get the move done. And Taylor just using discretion as the better part of valor. He's going to now try to take a line up here for Villeneuve.
And I think potentially realizing as well that doesn't want to be dragged back closer to Alex Guillon just yet. Make their way out of the corner though. Nice and tidily for the time being. Margin up towards the front. Didn't grow as much as one may have expected on the last lap, but I think that was partially because Michael O'Brien pushed the limits of the track and did not have his last lap time count, even though it was a 1:34. He's already broken clear of David Rodriguez, though, as we continue to watch down the hill this fight between effectively 4th on back. Tyler Graf no longer going to be able to compete in the Monday night ButtKicker Sports Car Series that Lionheart puts on, but we have been seeing him on Tuesdays, DJ, continuing to enjoy some GT3 machinery. We were talking a little bit about that, of course, slightly earlier. It's been fun to see him in a car that we haven't normally seen him. Lionheart is so much about open wheel machines. It's good to see him stepping out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, it really is, and you can certainly learn quite a bit going from tin tops into these open wheel machines and just kind of figuring out the differences and similarities in between the two. When you start to get a feel for the car, no matter what it is, it's going to help you to better understand whatever track you're driving on. And if you learn the braking zone in one car and then understand it, you'll get it. As here comes Sirwa looking for an attack back.
Trying to go the long way around, but they give each other a bit more room than maybe they would in real-world motorsport. Matt Taylor's not going to get the opportunity to try and slip one back underneath, but you can see instantly Guyon, Richie Hearn slightly closer compared to a lap or so ago, and now 4 complete, and the margin up towards the front stabilizing as Sean Campbell faster once again last time around. So 1:33.971, that is his current fastest benchmark, and this is what we kind of expected, as we were mentioning, DJ, when it comes to these cars. Faster and faster the lighter that they get.
Yeah, we're going to continue to see these lap times just diminish as these fuel loads continue to burn off. We're only on lap 5 here at this point, so these cars are still going to be feeling relatively heavy, relatively sluggish as they get around the track. When we get down to about lap 15 or so, these cars are going to get very, very darty, and those who are familiar with them, they're going to be able to control them incredibly well and extract those lap times. But I worry about some of the rookies that are coming on in, that they may have a little bit of a hard time, and we could see a spin or two.
Wonder if we are going to see traffic play its part as well, even with just the 19 cars. That is definitely something just to keep in mind. David Rodriguez sits in some no man's land as well. Sean Campbell faster once more, and I think you're going to see the purple be a bit of a staple up towards the top. Back into turn number 1. We might also see this be a bit of a repeated deja vu. Except no, Tyler Graf says David Siro, slide on through. Alex Guyon gets passed by Richie Hearn. I think these are drivers realizing and recognizing they've got to get their races figured out right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing here about Imola. Really, your only premier passing zone is down into turn 1, and other than that, you're stuck behind the car in front of you for the majority of the lap. So if you feel you're faster, you have got to be on it, and you have got to be aggressive down into turn 1. I think we saw Richie Hearn from the beginning of the race start to poke his nose inside and out on Guyon, trying to be able to find a little bit of that run. He finally got it done, and I think with David Sirwa, he does not want Graf to get in front of him. He's putting up as much defense as he can.
You can see in front as well. Was that a mistake from Tyler Graf? It was, and so as we continue to ride on board with the 08 machine, the Patrick 8 machine has now slid on through the fellow Nezumi Graphics car. So easy to make mistakes around this track, let's be honest. And was there a mistake from Richie Hearn as well? I think there was.
Yeah, I think there was just a little bit of wheel spin coming off of the line. Maybe got up onto the AstroTurf on the exit there of Variante Alta, but that car was all kinds of sideways, and that allowed for Alex Guyon to get right back on through.
So, as we look off the back of David Sirwa, Sean Campbell punches in what is going to be the first of, I'm sure, many fastest laps. Let's go back and take a look at, just runs a bit wide, does Tyler Graf, and then up through the corner, didn't really want to push the issue too much. What happened to Richie Hearn, though, in that number 70?
Well, looks like he comes down here into the braking for Variante Alta, able to get everything right, and just a little bit too hard on that throttle application. You see the car kind of step out to the right a little bit. I think that's just rear tire spin.
Richie Hearn wants to be doing a bit of drifting in that new WRC game, but forgot he's in a Lotus 79 apparently. It's good fun, I tell you. Not having to learn the track and do any practice, and instead just let someone else tell you where to go. The only thing that I guess is somewhat off-putting about it, at least when it comes to the real world, is the sheer amount of danger that you're in.
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely a different skill, and that kind of rally driving, really and truly, it requires just ultimate faith in your co-pilot, as well as just the ability to think on the fly.
So, DJ, who, if are you a driver or are you co-driver?
I would probably be the driver,
who
because
are you
I'm
trusting?
a terrible backseat driver.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, who are you trusting as your co-driver then? Because either way, there's a lot of trust that you've got to have in one another.
I have sort of done it. I have a buddy of mine from college, one of my fraternity brothers, that we used to go up to a retreat up in the mountains, and he would pull up Google Maps and tell me what corners were coming up, and we would scare the you-know-what out of the freshman in the back seat while I took him as fast as possible.
That never happened. The statute of limitation has passed, right?
Exactly.
Oh, then
exactly.
yes, then you could talk about it freely. It's fair game.
That was 10 years ago at this point, so statute of limitations is definitely
Oh,
passed.
stop dating us, DJ. We're getting old.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Sim racing is such a young person's game as well. It's such a shame. It's why on RaceSpot it's nice that sometimes we get to do things like we cover a league with. It's literally called 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Do you want to guess what the league is all about, DJ?
I'm going to guess drivers that are over the age of 45.
Wow, how did you guess that? so correct. But it's a lot of fun seeing the same people come, week on week to just race against one another. And much like with this Lionheart community, they've all managed to find one another. This is the battle with Sam Ryman, Sam Fontaine, and Rodrigo Munoz, 9th, 10th, and 11th positions. And of course, some of these drivers hoping for some rather valuable championship points. But I can't help but be rather amazed at this level of consistency that we're seeing right now out of Mr. Campbell, because we're 9 laps in, and I feel like every lap so far faster than the last.
I mean, he is just putting in times, and what I'd imagine here at this point for Campbell is he's basically not pushing all that hard. He's just running the lines that he wants to run around this circuit, and because of that fuel burn that we talked about and how light the cars are getting, he's just able to go faster. I mean, look at that. We're talking about roughly 1/10 of a second a lap. Last lap was a little bit less, but he's just letting the car drive the way he wants to. I mean, watch it coming down to here in Agua Mineral.
It just also sounds so composed.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Lotus 79. You can be very aggressive on the throttle and chuck it in and, frankly, do a little bit of what we saw Richie Hearn do earlier and let the car drift out a little bit, kind of kick the car around, let the natural oversteer rotate you through the corner. There's none of that here for Sean Campbell. He is calm, cool, and composed the entire time.
Words that cannot describe me, no matter what type of driving I'm doing. Matt Taylor is looking a little bit more calm now in that number 8 machine, with David Sirah just leading the train around. It's a long straight as well. It's I think 1.3 odd kilometers the run from the final corner before you break into turn 1. And Sean Campbell now with a 1:33.5 has a almost 7-second advantage. Michael O'Brien was postulating and guesstimating what he thought the lead margin would be at the end of the race, and he said 15 plus seconds. I did kind of think that was a bit of an understatement, potentially.
I mean, we're 10 laps into this race, Arjuna. We're a quarter of the way in, and it's already at 7.5 seconds. I think it is not out of the realm of possibility that we could be looking at a 30-second gap by the end of this. Yeah.
And for Michael O'Brien, you have to also probably assume that he doesn't want to make a mistake. The last thing that realistically the 45 wants to do is, with Campbell still leading and building up more of a points buffer with 5 races to go, including this one in the season. They're 1 and 2 in points. They're 1 and 2 on track as well. The worst thing O'Brien could do is lose even more ground with limited races coming up. And Nashville, Road America, Gateway, and Auto Club. I mean, maybe Campbell will be similarly dominant at Road America, but those other 3 races, 2 of them are probably wide open, and then Gateway is all going to be about who can just be the most comfortable there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Nashville is going to be a little bit of a question mark. It's going to be a little bit of a unknown. We ran there for the first time last year. It's a high tire wear circuit, and it's called a super speedway, but it's 1.7 miles or 1.2 miles. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's kind of a weird designation on it, so it's a little bit of a different circuit as it runs. For the other ones that we go to, when you talk about Gateway, that is all about being a short track ace. Turn 1 and 2 going through there, you've got to get the car woed down and feel it through that high bank. Turns 3 and 4, that's like you're running a traditional super speedway. It's flat out trying to be able to pitch the car around there. It's a unique circuit in the way that it goes, and so it's going to be pretty fascinating to take a look at.
I've always wondered where woed down comes from. Do you know?
I have no earthly idea. I love entomology, but I have no idea.
It is one of those races right now. But early doors is one where, do you know where that comes from? It's a very British phrase, to be fair. So,
yeah.
But that's one where it came from. You wanted to be there for like a theater play or whatever. You wanted to be there as soon as the door opened. Early doors. I don't know. It's little things like this. Now I'm going to be curious, and I'm going to have to try and figure that out for 7 days from today. When we do go to Nashville, it's a pretty short turnaround for the drivers to figure things out, as Sam Ryman, Sam Fontaine, and Rodrigo Munoz, still 9th, 10th, and 11th positions, run their way on through. And this is one of the things about, especially racing this car, where running in lines and running behind other people, it's not necessarily as easy as you think, especially in the case of that 22, where you've got someone a little bit closer to you than maybe you'd be comfortable with, DJ. It can be stressful in these situations.
Yeah, it really can, and this is where your mettle as a driver really comes in. Now, they do have a little bit of an advantage here, depending on what their setup is. Most of these racers are going to have what we call the virtual rear view camera, the virtual rear view mirror that's going to show up at the top of their screen, but some of them may be in a VR setting, and the only way they're going to be able to look behind them is those tiny rear view mirrors poking out from behind. If that's the case, that actually helps you a little bit, because you don't have to look at what's coming on you, as we've got a battle here coming down into one.
And so this is Valenzuela, Telder, and the debutant Tucker in the 77/46 as they head off into that second chicane. Look to the inside, and backing out of it as Telder holds on, but then he runs himself deep, and into Tosa is the opportunity for Tucker to have this one back around the outside.
He's going to look for it. He's not going to get it around the outside, but he is going to go for the crossover coming up the road here into Piratella. He's got the better drive, and I think here, if I'm in that machine of the 44, I've got to back off, but he's not going to do it.
Racing drivers never want to back out of it, but Telder eventually concedes. And slowly but surely, Tucker is working his way up through the field. He's now gained 2 positions so far today, hoping to continue chipping away at the margins up through the field, especially given that I know it was a short formation lap, but as we tick on over to the 13th lap of the race, 18, 19 lap fuel window, 41 lap race, we know there's a little bit of play there, potentially, hypothetically. The fuel window is now open, DJ.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to depend here on if drivers want to make that short fuel here, as they are going down to the inside is going to be Sam Fontaine on Samuel Ryman. Nice little move there. It's going to depend for these drivers, Arjuna, if they want to short fuel now and come in on a fuller tank and then drive on a full tank, or if they want to try to run these cars dry and take that last pit stop and then short fuel.
As there's a little bit of a slip up on corner exit, and 3 wide we go. Rodrigo Munoz says, thank you very much. Can I grab 2 for the price of 1? He's past Ryman, that's for sure, and eventually will dispatch of Fontaine as well, but so easy to make a slip up here. I feel like the preferred strategy, we've talked about it plenty, car gets light, car goes fast. You want to try and burn off as much of the fuel as possible, and therefore I naturally would want to be just trying to leave things as late as possible. But I never ran in this series, DJ, so you can probably speak from a bit of a more educated place than I can.
Well, I mean, I think that is certainly the call here at this point. That is the traditional way that you're going to want to run. You're going to want to let this car get as light as possible, try to extract that speed. The only time that I would say maybe you throw a wrench into that works a little bit is if you're the likes here of Sam Ryman, if you're the likes of David Sirwa, where you've been stuck behind another car for a long time, and you maybe want to dive in on an alternate pit strategy, get yourself a little bit of clean air, and try to jump a car or two that way.
Maybe that's something that the likes of Sirwa, Rodriguez, Taylor are all just keeping in mind. Unfortunately, 13 laps into this race, that margin at the front, it is 11 seconds. The last time that the Lionheart Retro Series came here to Imola, it was a similarly dominant sort of a margin up towards the front. I was just trying to think of the appropriate way to phrase that. because it was 55 seconds, DJ.
Yeah, and that was in the days of the domination of Ryan Otis, a multi-time champion here in this series who absolutely put everybody on notice every time he would come out onto the track. And I think you're seeing the emergence here of Sean Campbell as another Ryan Otis-like driver in that sense, and I mean that in the highest praise possible.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Campbell's someone that we've seen compete in so many top-level series, the IMSA Esports Global Championship amongst them. On Mondays, we see him jump between a GT3 machine and an LMP3 machine in both our ButtKicker Sports Car Series, but also in the Precision Racing League, which DJ often will see Sean open his Monday evenings with before he jumps into his second race of the night with us. But yeah, it's just remarkable the way that he can jump across cars and continue to be so rapid and continue to find speed. I tell you what, David Rodriguez is feeling the pressure right now, you know?
Yeah, he really is. I've got to give credit here to Sirois. He's been putting in some very, very good lap times. His last lap was a 1:33.5. That's about 0.7 of a second faster here than Rodriguez. He's starting to put the pressure on him, and this is the kind of moment here where you may think about trying to dive into the pits to try to get that little bit of an advantage if you can.
Oh, there's a four-wheel drift there, I think, for David Sirois, who does lose a little bit of ground. We'll see how it all plays out, though, because as they bounce and clatter over the curbs once more on the run in toward the final quarter, it all comes as, unfortunately for Josh Tucker, well, the debut might have just come to an end. Now, this is up towards the top of the middle sector of the lap. So what's going to happen here as we dive down in towards the hill? In fact, wait, it's a slightly different replay that we've got to queue on up here. The beauty of live broadcasting, we figure it out live. Same complex of the track though, DJ. What happened to the black and gold machine?
Brings it down through the corner. I think just caught a little bit of those inside curbs, and that unsettled the car a little bit, and that sent the 46 around for a spin. Decided to just bring it back down to the pit lane, and maybe a little bit of frustration there for Tucker as here comes a move for Sirois.
There's the momentum, there's the overlap into the inside. Rodriguez gives it up, and Sirois up to third, and now only, 5-6 seconds behind Michael O'Brien. This is where, with the fight for second in the championship, that Raven Lavoie number 99 has got to get the pedal to the metal.
Well, and let's be perfectly clear here. Sirois is faster than Michael O'Brien. The last lap that he ran was about a 1:33.5 at the last time of asking, and his best lap is a 1:33.8. Michael O'Brien's best lap's a 1:33.9. So he's got more speed to give here, I think, than the Australian.
New Zealander, don't do that.
Excuse me.
You're going to get in trouble.
I sincerely apologize to you there, Michael. I can't see the red on my screen on the flags. I could not see the red of the stars.
No, it's okay. It's just one of those things where, yeah, you want to be allowed into the region, don't you, DJ?
I do. My girlfriend actually lived there for a while, so I'd like to be able to go at some point in time.
Oh, I would love to go back. I don't know. When was the last time I went to New Zealand? That's going on 2009, so 14 years ago, but I would very much like to go back. It is one of my favorite places in the world, not just because they filmed Lord of the Rings there, but it is also just such a beautiful, stunning place to be. So, as Sirois now is up to third, let's check in with the not Australian, the Kiwi, Michael O'Brien. He says it on the side of his car. Don't worry, I've made that mistake before, DJ. But now, it was what I was saying earlier. He's 12.5 seconds off the leader. The last thing he wants to do is put a foot wrong and slip it off the track.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think for him here at this point, if he's driving with the F3 box that we like to call it, which is the relative box, one of the joys of iRacing is you can have a live look at how close drivers are around you. If he's got that, if I'm Michael O'Brien, I turn that off here at this point, and I just focus on running. I don't want to know what the gap back to David Sirois is. I just want to focus on my own lines, and if he shows up in my mirror, then I start to worry.
Yes, I know what you mean, but we're so spoiled in sim racing with the amount of data it is a very, very hard ask to tell a driver, you know what, turn everything off. Turn everything off that the sim gives you. If you're Sean Campbell, though, it must be pretty easy because he's into the 132s now. A 132.848. It's remarkable.
Absolutely remarkable. I mean, he just continues to set these times. Oh, is that Tyler Graffoff? No, excuse me, that's Matt Taylor.
Is that a technical issue that's just unfolded through the final couple of corners?
It very well might be. It looked like he pulled off to the side there and parked. I'm not sure what happened to Taylor here.
So, well, the great thing about iRacing as well, we get infinite looks at stuff. Something is not 100% right. That's all I know right here.
Yeah, so he comes down through the second corner. It looked like he had a good line. The wheel kind of jinked out to the side.
You know what it might be? I'm pretty sure Matt Taylor's in VR.
Oh.
Could that be some sort of VR disconnection? We'll see if we can get word. That's not a VR disconnection. That's a curb, Richie Hearn.
Yeah, that's not great there for Richie. Just caught that inside sausage curve. As we said, let's take the look on board here. Richie comes down into the left-hander, a little bit off the line, and then just catches it, and that's enough to upset the balance of the car, throw him up into the air. And remember, that's two things that get thrown off. Not only do you lose that contact patch on the wheel, but you also lose the downforce underneath it as Campbell comes into pit lane.
And it seems as though with the way that these drivers have been pushing, it's going to be, for the most part, the 18 full laps for all of them. 8.6 seconds, therefore, then, for Campbell is off and away, with no one else even getting into the jacks and into the boxes just yet. But it's the lack of jacks that maybe are the more important thing. The lack of tires being taken. There'll be 1, 2, and 3 off and away with not a care in the world in pit lane.
Yep, they're going to get themselves back out here. And by the way, remember that this pit lane is a little bit more treacherous than some of those GT cars that we were talking about, some of the modern cars that we have with the pit speed limiter. As your only pit speed limiter here in these Lotus 79s, it's your right foot.
How good were you at limiting your speed, DJ?
I was actually pretty decent. It's one of the few things here in this series that I can walk away from and say I did a good job on.
Okay, fair enough. Because it's something that I'm pretty terrible at. In road racing, a lot of the time, drivers will elect not to use the limiter often. But yeah, I've never really understood that because I was just not very good at controlling it. So Taylor's technical issue, or whatever it may have been, has now meant that he's involved with Alex Guyon in a battle for 6th position. Still, Rodriguez and Sirra battling for 3rd and 4th, but having pulled away from Tyler Graff in that 5th spot. It's looking like it might be a decent day for Raven Lavoie, with Sirra up in 3rd and Guyon down in 7th.
Yeah, a good run here for Raven Lavoie, and it was Sirwa here. The only thing I've got to say is his pit stop was a little bit long, 9.6 seconds compared to 8 seconds for David Rodriguez. So Rodriguez has a little bit of breathing space here to try to catch back in, but we'll have to see how well it pays out and if Sirwa can kind of slip back off into the distance.
They're not neither of them took very much of the curb there compared to maybe what you'd expect from someone pushing the limit, but I don't think that track limits are necessarily a concern for too many of these drivers. Look at that. We're already almost halfway through this race distance, DJ. It's been flying on by.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I've got to imagine here it's flying on by for our leader, Sean Campbell. 13 seconds, make it 14 seconds up at the front of the field, and that's a good run for him as he continues to try to grow that gap here at this point. The other good news for Michael O'Brien is it does look like he has been able to grow the gap in the course of the pit stops for over David Sirwa.
The pit stop times all slightly jumbled up, and so as you take a look at the left side of the screen, you can see them there. 7.4 for O'Brien, 8.6 for Campbell, 9.5 for Sirra. Basically all three of the sides of the equation represented there. The short, the medium, the long pit stops respectively, but ultimately it's something that you'd expect to slightly bounce on back and equalize again once we head off into the final cycle of pit stops, which is Probably to be expected to be... is that a full tank of fuel? Are we thinking another 18 laps or so and then a quick splash and dash at the end, DJ?
That would be my guess here at this point, because I wouldn't want to run any risk about trying to do a little bit of strategy in between that. About 9 seconds, that's what we see for a full tank here in these Lotus 79s, especially, remember, with the custom fixed setups, that they limit the amount of fuel that can be put into the car. If these setups were open, you could have a wide open fuel tank and run this entire race on one tank of fuel.
I'm trying to think about how ridiculous you'd have to be with the fuel saving to do this with a one stop. And maybe only David Rodriguez and his secret cheating fuel saving tree would be able to make it happen. And I say that as a joke, just to be clear, before anyone thinks I'm implying there's actual cheating at foot.
Yeah, he just absolutely had a magical foot. And remember, if we think back to that race, I got to tell you, Arjuna, I was in front of him for a good chunk of that race at Iowa where he made it work. And he blew by me. So it wasn't just the fact that he could save fuel, but he was doing it with good speed at the same time. It's one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen.
There are just some days where you're in the same situation as someone else, and you watch them do something that you're not capable of doing. That's the day I became a commentator.
Yeah, that definitely was a part of the way of my switch, was that season and me going, this was really fun, but no.
Yeah, you get humbled enough by the likes of Adam Blocker as an example, and you're just like, you know what? Let me go do something else. I will find it out. Back over to the likes of Ryman, who's now got Fontaine in front, still Munoz behind, is back up towards Variante Alta. They'll go, and that's going to be a look to the inside. Is it from the Backfire Motorsports car? No, it's not. Thinks more sensibly of it. Sam Ryman's car, give me some pizza pepperoni vibes. Is that just me?
No, I can see it. I can see it. I'm glad I had dinner before this. I normally wait until after our broadcast to eat, and if you had said that, that would be all I was thinking about here at this point. So at least I'm glad I got a full belly to be able to watch his car with.
Oh, yeah, that's the dangerous thing. There's been many a Lionheart event where we'd finish things up, and then the likes of Christian Steele, who's in the YouTube chat right now, Adam Blocker, Phil Kraus would bully me into going to In-N-Out across the street just to go and eat dinner. Or as a Hobbit would say, sometimes second dinner, but that's not a second opportunity to get things on through. And Rodrigo Munoz says thank you very much and slides his way up into a top 10 position with half this race complete. And again, Sam Fontaine, and then 9 seconds before they'll catch Richie Hearn. So some work to do as officially half race distance complete. And that 100% looks like pepperoni. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah, it really and truly does. And yeah, I may have to have second dinner after this because now that's just making me hungry.
I still remember as a kid watching The Hobbits. You can tell it's been a long day at work. Merry and Pippin, there we go.
There it is.
Second everything was their motto, and I was like, yes, and that explains why I got so heavy in high school. Traffic plays its part for the likes of Rodriguez and Sira as the two Davids still fighting and tussling for third position. Half a second between the two of them. An ideal position, you'd have to say, if you are Rodriguez. He had a slightly shorter stop in the previous pit stop cycle of the race, and so he very much is needing to take advantage right now of some fuel-saving games.
Yeah, and that's what I'd imagine he's doing here at this point. Now, he has closed in a little bit more. He's brought that gap down about 0.2 of a second on this last time of asking, but he doesn't look like he's in any hurry to try to get on by. I think he's relatively content to just hold in line here at this point and continue to try to just sip on that fuel tank a little bit.
I always enjoy listening to these cars. It was crazy. It was crazy during the IMSA Esports Michelin Global Championship season opener this past weekend, just listening to how much the cars were clutching in, basically, to save, at some point, 7 laps of fuel at Road Atlanta, which is a crazy amount. It's one thing that iRacing gives you such a great insight into, is the ability to figure out what they're doing. Doesn't seem like there's any fuel-saving games going on between the two of these drivers, at least for the time being. And as we jump onto the nose of David Rodriguez running behind, we'll listen in towards turn number 1 and hear, DJ, if there is some magic fuel saving going on from that right foot once more. Definitely no fuel saving there. A little bit wide for David Sirois, though, as they run their way out that first chicane.
No, David Rodriguez here is definitely in full push mode. And taking a look down to the inside there of Sirois through the second part of Villeneuve. Now, that wasn't a real attempt to try to get on by. I think that was just he recognized he could position his car a little bit differently and try to see if he could maybe force a mistake there out of that Raven Lamotte driver, as Taylor has another problem here, this time out of Tosa.
Yeah, and so he's not having an easy day by any means, but it goes back to what we were saying as well with the fixed setup nature of this series. Sometimes you're not always going to feel as comfortable with the balance of the car that you've got underneath you, and so already now 4 laps, almost 5 laps complete of this second stint of the race. Only maybe 25 minutes left of racing, penultimate road course of the season. As much as Sean Campbell is making headlines at the front, David Rodriguez, who maybe is not necessarily known for his prowess at being rapid on a road course. Yes, he's consistent on the road courses. He's mixing it up with a driver, DJ, that I've lost track of how many pole positions that Sirois has racked up over the course of his Retro Series career.
Yeah, he's really kind of become a single-lap specialist here, and where we always talk about being surprised is on the oval side of things. David is primarily known as a road racer, and he's really put together a fantastic oval resume over the past year and a half that we've seen him here in the Lionheart Retro Series. It's been an impressive run, and it's not just at the sort of ovals that you'd expect him to be good at, the New Hampshires and the gateways that are the short tracks where you've got to have that feel of the car. He's done well at super speedways. He's done well in intermediate ovals. He's really become one of the better all-around drivers here in this series.
I'm pretty sure he's had a pole at Motegi at Michigan and probably at some other weird ovals as well. So yeah, like you say, it also goes to show that prowess from Rodriguez to be able to hold onto the back of the number 99 onto the 25th lap of the race. 17 seconds the margin out front. 25 minutes to go. DJ, you might be right about on cue when it came to your prediction of about a 30-second margin up towards the front come the end of this one.
Yeah, it's up to about 17 seconds here at this point, so that could be just about playing into it here. Campbell not setting the scoreboards alight with the fastest laps of the race anymore, but that's, remember, he's on a fuller tank of fuel here at this point. But he's still only about 0.2 of a second off of his best time. He ran a 33 flat last time around, his best time a 32.85.
Seems like Matt Taylor's struggles continue as he now drops behind Richie Herm as we continue to track Sirois and Rodriguez towards turn 1 with officially now 25 laps complete in this ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola. Don't go anywhere on RaceSpotTV. It's Arjuna Kankipati alongside DJ Clark as we run you to the checkered flag of this penultimate road course race in the 2023 Lionheart Retro Series. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and to the penultimate road course round of the 2023 Lionheart Retro Series. Join us from Imola for the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola, where it's our junior Kanky party alongside DJ Clark to call you through the action and the remaining 14 or so laps of this race. It continues to be domination station at the front for Sean Campbell, almost 19 seconds clear of those behind. It's still David Sirwa and David Rodriguez that hold plenty of intrigue in the battle for third. But the final pit stop cycle has well and truly begun. Matt Taylor has come down onto pit lane, deposited himself into the midst of some traffic. But DJ, it's been an interesting race so far, to say the very least.
Yeah, certainly has here at this point. We've seen plenty of very close battles, really capped off here by this consistent cat and mouse game between David Sirwa and David Rodriguez, this battle for the final step on the podium.
And it's as they continue to battle that we, of course, also realize that they have their slightly different calls on strategy that will see them probably head down to the lane on different laps of the race, and that's going to be potentially something that is a factor to keep in mind as well. This is the look on board over the shoulder of David Rodriguez, though, as they run their way down the hill, once again compressing down the bottom before they go once again. Let's take a look at a couple of replays that have played their way out over the course of the last couple of moments. This is a look at, another spin, a lazy spin for Matt Taylor.
Something just is not right with that car. Those are two very uncharacteristic errors we've seen from Taylor. That was caused there, like we saw that incident with Richie Hearn, just kind of came up over the sausage curbs there, and that spun the car around. Here's another incident here for Ricky Harden as he comes down into Tamburello, gets the car sighted right, and the curbs coming back to bite yet again.
At least he's not hard in the wall. That's the main positive that you can say about that situation. We take a look, though, at the live pictures as David Rodriguez up the inside, and I don't think we're going to see David Sirwa be able to fight this one back. It's a swap around for third position, and it's the Nezumi Graphics LC number 10 that's got third back and now defends into that second chicane, forces the golden white machine to look the long way around, but not going to happen just yet. And as they work their way onto what will be 13 laps to go, it's all while Tyler Graf still 9 seconds back, Michael O'Brien 10 seconds in front. These two drivers know they are fighting for this position and this position alone.
Yeah, and I'd be a little bit concerned here if I were David Sirwa. We've seen pit stops be the bane of his running really over the course of the whole season, whether it's been on ovals or whether it's been on road courses such as this, as it looks like Matt Taylor had another incident very similar to what we saw earlier, coming down through Agua Minerale. Did he catch the curbs again? No, it just looked like the car wanted to spin away from him there. I wonder if the hot track temperature is just getting to those rear tires, and I think Taylor's called it quits for the night.
I think that was indeed the realization that in what's been a frustrating day, there was no need to frustrate anymore. Campbell, by the way, it's just not fair. Continues to go faster and faster and faster. Michael O'Brien has indeed come into pit lane, by the way. You'll see that on the left side of the screen. You see it on a track as well, as the 45 will hit the marks. Will now release Rodriguez to second, Sirwa to third. But this is an interesting call with what will be 12 laps to go, and to come in slightly earlier and hopefully not be deposited back into traffic.
Yeah, hopefully not going to be deposited back into traffic. That's going to be the big key here at this point. And it looks like for O'Brien, he's going to be out and on his way nice and easy. A 7.6 second stop. That's a little bit on the shorter side compared to what we saw earlier. 7.9 for Tyler Graf.
So now I think we get a sense that for everyone that pits from here, probably expect them to have a slightly shorter pit stop cycle, all things considered. Just a reminder, if you didn't know where we are, DJ, we're at Imola today. That was a great camera shot.
It was indeed. Gives us that nice little reminder. Sometimes it's helpful to get that, to just keep us honest.
It's okay. Have you ever been unable to speak on a broadcast, DJ, because you've been laughing so hard?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Has it ever happened for 5 minutes straight?
Not 5 minutes straight,
okay,
but I can tell you exactly what it was.
Well, you're more professional than me, so do tell me the story, though. I'm curious.
I was at Virginia International Raceway earlier this year, and my esteemed colleague, Kyle Heyer, Was trying to think of the word for thesaurus, ironically.
Okay.
Couldn't think of it.
Oh, no.
And said synonym book over live air. And it is the one time that I absolutely lost it and could not speak for about 30 seconds.
That's pretty good, to be fair, as David Rodriguez comes out to pit lane. Yeah, at least it was only 30 seconds, and at least Kyle probably was looking at you like you're a madman, right? And he was just talking totally fine.
No, he went, what's the word? And I said, do you mean thesaurus? And the look on his face was just of utter self-disappointment.
Yes, okay, the other emotion that many male commentators, I'm sure, often feel. Yeah, that synonym book. Oh, we've all been there. Is the funny thing? Like, we've all been in that situation.
And that's what made it so funny, is I'm sure I have done those things. I mean, I know years ago on another channel that we had about a minute-long montage of the noises that I made over the air.
Yes, I've seen that great video before.
Yeah. You know, everybody as a commentator makes those mistakes, and you just got to roll with it and laugh with it when it happens.
Yeah. Yes, again, fortunately, you're more professional than me and Lewis McLeod were last Thursday, that's for sure. As no, we're not going to see David Sirott into pit lane. We were commentating on an event, a live esports event, which was happening down in Brazil. And we're commentating on the world feed. The world feed had cut to a shot inside of the arena, showing us, you know, the fans and whatnot. And then the race start. I'm laughing just thinking about this. I'm going to set myself off. This is not great. Not very professional at all. But as the race starts, instead of cutting to the game itself so we can commentate on that, we have to commentate off the arena shot and the game feed on the screen in the arena. And Lewis made I've got to really be careful here. Lewis made a comment about CSI Miami, and it said the both of us. we couldn't talk. And 5 minutes of the two of us just being there, keeled over. Every time we try to start, the other one would set the other one off. And yes, comical things happen behind the scenes on broadcast. Hopefully, never on a Lionheart broadcast will there be 5 minutes of silence because we cannot control our laughter.
With any luck, although I make no guarantees. If I get another synonym book moment, I may lose it.
Okay, let's be real. If we get another Motegi moment, those that know, it may happen as well.
It may.
Yes. Remember Motegi. As much as we want to remember the 17, let's remember the 5 wide at Motegi as well. Not going to see anyone come into pit lane just yet. And remember, they could go as long as, hypothetically, probably 5 laps to go. They're on to the 14th lap of their run at the front of the field right now. The gap between Sirott and O'Brien is 18 seconds as it stands right now. The gap between Sirott and Rodriguez, see, this is the problem with intervals. You then have to do even more math on top of that to figure out where the gaps truly stand. It's 20 seconds, isn't it, further back? So, 40 seconds, the margin between those battling for the third step on the podium.
Yeah, and the question's going to be here at this point is what these lap times are looking like. And as I take a look at Rodriguez's last lap, it's a 33.7. Sirois able to put down a 33.2. So it looks like it's advantage Sirois here at this point because of that lighter fuel tank, let's remember.
The lighter fuel tank that we did kind of... I'm going to toot my own horn here and say, I did kind of say that it might be important, and we'll see if that's part of what's playing its part right now in just the sheer weight load, although Rodriguez does have Sirois' teammate Alex Guillon in front to potentially operate as a bit of a drafting help as, again, just a reminder, we are indeed here at in Imola in Italy with 8 laps to go. That will surely become 7 pretty shortly. In fact, no, it won't, because Campbell's already off into the second chicane. Such is the margin of the lead that he has right now. It is going to be a good 30-second margin of victory up front. And Sean Campbell will extend his championship lead regardless. But again, 7 days from today, DJ, it's going to be very unpredictable as we make our way over to Nashville.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely fascinating to see. As we mentioned before, it's a little bit of an alternative oval. It's not the traditional intermediate. It may be called a super speedway, but it's really not in the way that it's laid out. It's much more akin to an intermediate oval, albeit with a couple extra tenths of a mile thrown into it. And once again, the other thing that makes it very, very special is the fact that it is a concrete surface. It's not traditional asphalt like we see on the majority of tracks. So if that is the case, with that being the case, rather, tire wear is going to be a big concern, I think, for these cars, and we're going to see drivers coming into the pits to take tires at some point over the course of that race.
Yes. The question will be when, and how do you make sure that you maximize it at the end of the day? That will really be the important topic. Campbell's WMP Racing number 26 trundles down the lane. I must say, it's a paint scheme that we've become quite familiar with seeing up towards the front. The silver, the gold accent, the teal blue, whatever you want to call it, chrome accented with the spec map, of course. It's going to be a short stop for him. It's going to be a 6.1 second stop. And is that also the mark then to see the number 99 in? No. Sirois stays out. One additional lap.
Yeah, I mean, Sirois continues to put down good lap times here. He continues to be faster than Rodriguez, and I think here for Sirois, you've got clean air in front of you. Run that tank dry. Why stop right now, especially if you've got a good feeling, a good rhythm about this car? Why stop yourself from keeping going?
What's the time last time by? 33.174. So it was still another 0.8 of a second quicker than the counterpart, David Rodriguez, albeit now with Rodriguez getting a bit of a slingshot towards the line as he comes towards the line to take 7 to go. Still in the tire tracks in the draft of Guyon's 08 machine into turn number 1. This is, of course, where, was it last year? It would have been 2 years ago, wouldn't it? Now, 2021. Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, they had their monumental moment in the rain that saw the bonking of the helmet, of course, and iRacing releasing their most recent rain update about the system. They're now publicly calling Tempest. We're not far away, DJ, from maybe having the virtual helmet bonking in the Lionheart Retro Series as well.
No, we're certainly not. Getting very, very excited for that project to be able to come on here. It's going to be very exciting to see. And I think it's going to make some of these races where, you know, things seemed to be set in stone a little bit, seem to be set in their ways, change, because we can get this rain that just rolls on in and absolutely changes everything about this race.
Going to be curious to see how it rolls out as well. It's going to be released in part, starting with a couple of cars here and there, and slowly but surely we'll see it make its way across of the different machines available to the drivers. Sirois, by the way, has not come on in, so Sirois stays out there, all as Guyon still feeds the draft to Rodriguez. Sirois now has some traffic of his own. That's Ricky Harden in the number 7. Guyon's into the box, though. It means that now we are effectively just waiting for Sirois, for Hearn, for Munoz, and for Harden to make their final stops of the race. Everyone else done and dusted, and with their trips down to pit lane.
Yep, just waiting for a few of them here at this point to come on in. Now, my question here for Rodriguez is, now that he's free from that dirty air from Guyon in front of him, is he going to be able to close in a little bit more, especially considering the fact that Sirois got that little bit of lap traffic in the form of the number 7 of Ricky Harden right in front of him.
And here is the number 10 machine of Rodriguez as he works his way up towards at the top of the hill here, sweeps it to the left-hand side. Nice and committed as he runs his way now with that crucial clean air. Through the final corner comes the 99. And yes, off to the right. Ricky Harden will follow in a Raven Lavoie Motorsports machine, and this has got to be important. David Sirois as close to the limiter as possible from this point forward. David Rodriguez is just working through Variante Alta and towards the penultimate corner of the lap.
All right, this is going to be the big battle that we've been following here. Who is going to be able to be closest on this? Going to come to rest in the box, not going up on the tires, so remember to uncheck that. Great stop there for Sirois, only 6 seconds. That should see him out and clear.
And so where's Rodriguez? You can see the 10 on the bottom corner of the screen on the track map, just coming towards the line, but not even in camera shot, and it's going to be a good 3 seconds as they head off towards turn number 1. Rodriguez already up to speed, of course. Sirra building that speed back up and stabilizing. The timing shows at about 5 seconds or so, with what's going to be a 4-lap battle next time around at the line. See if that will close on up. No such battle though for Sean Campbell. Look how close he is to the grass, almost pixel perfect at the front, and with some style points as well. We rode around earlier with Campbell for a bit of a run to see exactly how he was getting on. I tell you what, why don't we take another look around this wonderful track at Imola, opened almost 70 years ago now, when it opened first to those on 2 wheels. Now, of course, most of the racing done on 4 wheels here, and Formula 1 gracing its presence back a handful of years ago as well. Towards the line, it jinks its way right and then back to the left as you get ready to stamp onto the brakes for the very first time. It's about the 100-meter mark that Campbell rolls down through a couple of gears. Careful not to clip the sleeping policeman anti-cut curbs on any part of that first couple of corners, and out of Tamburello into the second chicane at Villeneuve. This one so committed on entry, and then down a gear to the second part as you roll towards Tosa. Uphill on braking, be a bit more committed as gravity works with you, and same on exit. Gravity helps you as he tries to get the power down and run your way into the middle sector of the lap, DJ.
And as you bring it up here into Piratella, this is a maximum commitment corner. You can hear just a little bit of a feather of the throttle there, a brush of the brakes to get the car to rotate, and then you bring it down here into Agua Minerale. So very difficult. Chuck the car in, then slam on the binders. Try not to lock up those front tires. Take as much of that exit curbing as possible, and then you finally get a moment to breathe here before you line yourself up for Variante Alta. Careful to take a bunch of the curbing there, but not too much to get more of those big sausage curbs on the inside, and then it's the run down into the final 2 corners.
And this is a place where you have to be so brave after that entire first part of the lap. You can really make the difference here. How much can you brake late? How much can you clip the inside on both of these double left-handers to build your way back to the line? And then don't lift, because it's a bit of a kink to the right and you still haven't made your way to the timing beam. It's about now that you'll break that mark, and a lap complete here at this wonderful racing circuit. 3 laps to go, and, well, the margin at the front, 30 full seconds. It's a remarkable campaign so far from Campbell. And again, it's what I said earlier, DJ, that scares maybe the most. The fact that he's, quote-unquote, he's only won 5 races so far this season.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like that number is almost unfathomable, considering his lead up at the front of the field as well as everything else he has been able to do. But it's just been consistency. I mean, almost every time, week in and week out, Arjuna, it seems like we are talking to Sean Campbell, and those are the kind of campaigns that championships are based on, is just absolute consistency up at the front of the field, able to nail it down and to be consistent and get that car where you want it to be every single time.
Yes, but it's boring, and so as we discussed pre-race, we've decided, right, collectively, just amongst us here in the broadcast booth, DJ, that starting next week onwards, Sean Campbell's not allowed to qualify anymore.
Yeah, we need to have a little bit of fun up here in the booth. This is for us, too. So, Sean, no qualifying for you. You have to start at the back of the field and work your way on up and through.
Just a little bit of fun, of course, but I heading off to Nashville, who knows, there could be crazier things than a Campbell drive from the back to front. And of course, after that, Road America, Gateway Auto Club, fastest lap of the race on the penultimate, or rather, third to final lap, penultimate lap now underway. And I tell you what, Sean Campbell could very well break into the 131s, when only one other driver has broken so far into the 132s.
I mean, that, if you want the mark of just how dominant this has been, don't look at you don't even have to look at the scoring pylon to see his gap. That in and of itself should tell you more than enough. The fact that he is able to be that quick and that much faster than everybody else in the field.
And it's a bit of an important mark, I think, in the championship as well, because coming after the last round, the points looked like they were closing on in, but I think that was more just the way that the drop rounds have kind of played their way on through. 1, 2, and 3 in the championship run their way 1, 2, and 3 on track as well. And I think that goes to show at this point in the season that they have very much, DJ, been the most consistent drivers over the course of the previous 17 races that we've had. And this is a long 22-round campaign.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a grueling campaign. Normally, when we talk about most esports series, we're talking about races over the course of just a few weeks. I mean, maybe a 10 to 13-week season, kind of mimicking what we see in iRacing in their schedule. The fact that this stretches all year long, and the fact that you are able to commit and make sure you lock it down, it's really impressive what they've been able to do.
23 thousandths of a second. That's all that Sean Campbell is trying to find as we cycle on to the final lap of the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola. Problem is, he's got some traffic. I don't think Campbell's going to get that 31 he's been searching for.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pull it off here at this point, but nevertheless, still an impressive run. That is the number 44 there of Matt Telder. Good job here for Matt, coming home 15th, as we talked about a little bit earlier, just being able to finish a race here at Imola. Very impressive.
We've only had the 2 retirees so far, actually. So Matt Taylor, who, let's be honest, had a bit of a torrid day. He'll be hoping that potentially the next couple of rounds are more in his favor. And Josh Tucker as well on debut, going to be classified as DNFs. Everyone else is going to see the finish line. Sean Campbell is going to canter his way through the final corner. What more can you say about 2023 as a whole? I think this is a race that kind of summed it up. In control, yet pushing and always being at the front of the field and as quick as you could hope to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Campbell has done here today. That's exactly what his season has been like. And now he comes onto the straightaway for one last time.
And it is the 6th win in 18 races in 2023. It's Sean Campbell, your winner of the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola. It's just another step on his road to the potential championship, but never say never. 1, 2, and 3 in points. 1, 2, and 3 on track as well, albeit with a 34-second margin before we'll get to see Michael O'Brien and then finally David Tyrrell and David Rodriguez to the line as well. A couple of years away from Imola. Be curious to get the thoughts of the drivers. DJ, would they want to be back here sooner rather than later? Or are they already looking forward to something else moving forward?
Well, we'll have to see. That's one of the reasons why we interview these drivers at the end of the race there, as O'Brien's going to cross over the line here shortly. The Kiwi doing a fantastic job and a very, very remarkable job to be able to keep those speeds up to where he was. Still finishing 35 seconds back. Sirwa Rodriguez coming home 3rd and 4th.
Only the top 7 are going to be classified on the leading lap. I think that is also a bit of an indication as to the dominance of Campbell up towards the very front. It will be Richie Hearn, the final car to come towards the line on the leading lap of the race, scored in 7th spot. He'll be delighted with that. That house, that looks like a great place to watch the race.
It's always been one of my dreams to be able to watch from one of those houses, Arjuna. Probably one I will never get to see fulfilled, but it's always been a dream.
I mean, I think you and I both want to go to Indianapolis and try and find that treehouse and try and watch a race from there as well at some point, surely.
I would not be opposed, although you'd have to probably pry me out of my family seats that have been in my family for about 25 years at this point.
Though if you've got decent seats, why would you want to go and find the treehouse? I think that is probably the question. But with the race done and dusted, let's run you down through the arena race results. And so yet another tick next to the box for Sean Campbell on his potential road to a championship. He's clear by 35 seconds of O'Brien, Cyril Rodriguez, and Graf, the rest of the top 5. It'll be Guyon, Hearn, Munoz, Fontaine, and Ryman that make up the rest of your top 10. A couple of those cars 1 lap down, as can be said for Forsyth, Herrick, and Harden, while 2 laps down for Valenzuela, Telder, Gallus, and Pfeiffer, who all finished, unlike Matt Taylor, and on debut Joshua Tucker down in 19th, classified as the final car on the grid. A fastest lap as well went the way of Sean Campbell. Just kind of summed up what a dominant day it was for him. But as we get ready to make our way down to HyperX Victory Lane to talk to our race winner, it's as we enter into our next Level Racing post-race show. And so it's the, again, 6th win in 6th win indeed of 2023 for Sean Campbell. Let's see if we can drag your race winner in. 35 seconds clear. Sean, I'm not sure how that was from your perspective, Sean, but it seemed like maybe it wasn't the most difficult of challenges for you to figure out. Talk to us about the balance of this car here at Imola today.
Well, the setup was really good. I'll say. I gotta give credit to Andrew because it's a great setup. But I did say last week at Sports Car that Imola is probably the best track that I have on iRacing, and I don't know. I felt super comfortable tonight.
I'm glad to hear that because it seemed like that out on track as well. We've only got a handful of races after this. Nashville 7 days from today. I've got to ask Sean, what are your expectations heading into what's surely to be a wild round of the Oval Championship in 7 days' time?
Well, I haven't actually driven Nashville before, but Nashville, from what I've seen, is kind of awesome. So hopefully it'll be kind of awesome.
I think we're looking forward to that. Sean, congratulations on your 6th win of the season, and we'll see you in 7 days' time over at Nashville.
All right, peace.
Sean Campbell victorious once more. At this point, he's kind of said all that he needs to say in some of these winners' interviews. Let's see if we can catch up, though, with the one and only David Sirra as well. And that number 99 machine had a very, very fun fight with David Rodriguez over the course of the 41 laps. But David, it all kind of came down to the pit strategy. Talk us through it from your perspective as you ran your way to 3rd on track.
Yeah, it was a great fight with David Rodriguez. I knew I was fast, but I had a bad start and I did a mistake and I lost another spot to Matt Taylor. And after that, I was able to catch David Rodriguez, pass him on track. Then in the pit, I didn't know exactly how much fuel I had compared to him, so I didn't want to let him go. But finally, I think he was faster than me at that point of the race, so I let him go. And I was just hoping that my pit stop was shorter than him. So I was a little bit relieved when he pitted a few laps later. I'm very happy.
Seemed like a pretty good race from that strategy perspective, but as we get ready to go to Nashville in 7 days' time, Sean was telling us he's not sure what to expect. Do you know what we should expect when we roll our way out in Tennessee in a week's time?
No, I have absolutely no idea. I didn't know. I don't even know what kind of track it is, so we'll find out in a few weeks.
Looking forward to it. Congratulations, David, on another podium, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you. Thanks to you. Thanks to La Voix Motorsport and Ancestral Urbain. And I'm very happy to be here.
A great podium result for the Raven Lavoie Motorsports number 99, and of course Alex Guillon grabbed 6th as well, so you have to assume they'll be pretty chuffed with how things went for them. But it's interesting, DJ, that 2 drivers we had a chat with in that post-race show, neither of them really know what to expect as we get ready to go in 7 days for the HyperX Nashville 150.
Well, that's just kind of the way things are going to go in Nashville. It's an unpredictable racing circuit, and depending on when we get the virtual sim time to come on in, it could be very, very toasty. And I predict a race that you're going to want to tune in on because it is not going to be predictable by any stretch of the imagination.
And after that, it's a bit of a break before we go for the final road course round of the season in America's National Park of Speed, and then 3 weeks off, we turn the page to 2024. And I've just realized, DJ, it's going to be very, very difficult when we make our way to the Worldwide Technology Raceway for me not to say welcome to 2023.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult. It's going to be a little bit strange, but something tells me we're going to be able to get through it, Arjuna.
And then, of course, all roads lead to the Championship Showdown, traditional championship finale. The Gomez Sim Industry Championship 250 presented by Next Level Racing. You've competed on the high banks of Auto Club before, DJ. I know there's been some rather heartbreaking photos posted recently about the state of the track in the real world. It's preserved for us in the sim to go for a high-speed thriller to close things out.
Yeah, I have been able to compete on the sim and in real life there at Auto Club. It is a real heartbreak to lose the mirror circuit to Michigan, but I'll tell you what, I am so happy that it still exists on the sim because I have never seen a race there that hasn't been absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best in the world.
And I think that's the thing. Every time we go at Auto Club, we know it's going to be fun. And pretty much every time we go in this Lionheart Retro Series, we do kind of know what to expect. And that's action, that's plenty of it as well. For now, though, it's time to say goodbye. 7 days from today, we'll be back, and well, it's all thanks to those that make things possible. To learn more about the Lionheart Racing Series, about its partners, head on over to lionheartracingseries.com, where you can also learn more about the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts forward. Looking forward to going for the HyperX Nashville 150, but mainly to see if anyone can stop the domination that is Sean Campbell, or if his road to the championship is going to be relatively unbumpy. For DJ Clark, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us here at Imola, the penultimate road course of the 2023 Lionheart Retro Series. We'll see you in 7 days' time, but congratulations to Sean Campbell, the winner of the ButtKicker Grand Prix of Imola.